Alright, this is a video. We're going to talk more about the evidence that the millennial reign has happened. So now check out this theory I have about the mud flood. Now, as you all know, millions of people traveled all around the world to come per year to show their honor or respect to Yeshua the Christ. That means they would have had to have roads and bridges. See this? They would have had to have what I call free energy horseless carriages. I don't believe they called them vehicles at that time, but I do believe during the millennial reign they had superior roads, concrete roads, maybe 3 times the quality concrete that we know of, and they could have had 2-mile long bridges that were just as beautiful as some of their structures, their buildings. So imagine the mud flood happens. Imagine Yeshua the Christ and 100, 200 million people all leave this earth, and he dissolves all of the free energy horseless carriages, all the technology gets dissolved into black mud. All of the roads, the thousands of miles of roads and superior bridges all got dissolved into black mud because it was a reset. Remember, it's going to be impossible for the devil to deceive the nations if you have 2-mile long, beautiful bridges that would have taken superior technology or abilities. Thousands of miles of beautiful, perfect roads. It's going to be nearly impossible for him to deceive the nations. I'm going to say a lot of this black mud that you see that flowed in these towns, this could be thousands of free energy horseless carriages. And there was factories where a lot of technology was developed or processed and assembled. Those would have been dissolved into black mud. And a perfect example, how many of you know this does not match or line up with this? See this? This would have taken superior technology. Then you have people riding around in a horse and carriage. It's almost as if superior technology had been completely removed or a reset, dissolved into black mud. Alright, now I want you to check out this map. This is the Fertile Land map. Now, I'm not totally sure where Israel or Jerusalem would actually be at. I know that the land that flows like milk and honey, they may call Northern California, or maybe up here by the river, they call it the Mississippi. It seems to line up with the scripture where Moses went down the Nile, down towards Egypt, so this could be it. I do know they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years. I'm not really sure what wilderness that would be. It could be out here maybe. I do know on an ancient map they did show this waterway right here. It actually said the Red Sea. So yeah, that's very, red flag should be going up there. We do know, we can prove that the area of Salt Lake City, they have large fields of salt because there used to be ocean water there. They have fossilized sharks and sea creatures, so we can definitely prove. I do believe during Armageddon, remember the scriptures say how a great shaking, worldwide earthquakes, how islands would fall out of their places, and when those earthquakes were happening, this area could have shook and buckled together and pushed all that seawater right back out into the sea. In other words, this land may have elevated 12 or 15 feet and pushed it all out into the sea. No matter where Jerusalem is or Israel, what I'm trying to say is they had superior roads, they had bridges, millions of people would have traveled on free energy traveling ships, large ships, and free energy horseless carriages that maybe we would call vehicles. And when Yeshua the Christ and 200 million, 100 million, 200 million all left, I'm going to say all that technology, all of those roads, most of those bridges were dissolved into black mud. So imagine a town that has, 50,000 free energy horseless carriages and all these beautiful concrete roads, it all got turned to black mud. Because you do understand, it would be impossible for the devil to deceive all nations if you have these thousands of miles of, high quality roads and bridges. Now, something else that's interesting about the location of Jerusalem or real Israel, it says Jesus or Yeshua, when he calmed the storm, the day and evening came and he said to his disciples, let us go to the other side. So this body of water, I don't know, large lake, or maybe it was the Mississippi or the Nile that got renamed the Mississippi. Let us go to the other side. And then a terrible storm came and their boat, they thought they were going to die. So it was definitely a large body of water. That is a hint and clue where this region would be at. Now, something else that would be fascinating, if you went through the whole book of Genesis, Exodus, spent hours and hours, doesn't it make you wonder if the ancient Rome could have been in the location of Seattle or maybe Chicago or Buffalo, New York, or somewhere around New York? Doesn't it make you wonder if the Erie Canal was actually constructed during the Roman Empire, the days of Yeshua? I watched a hilarious video the other day about the Erie Canal, and they made it out to be as the early 1800s, some guy that did not get financed by the federal government, and he somehow built this incredible waterway with little to no money. And I'm sitting there laughing like, dude, you're talking about billions of tons of dirt being moved by shovels, and you expect me to believe this? But I would say that Erie Canal played a very important role. If it was constructed during the Roman Empire days, it would have played an important role. So it is possible that the ancient Rome was somewhere up here. Now there's no doubt. Imagine a grandfather tells his grandson when he was a child he drove around in horseless carriages, and the one they call Jesus ruled and reigned the earth, and by the late 1800s those stories would get quickly silenced. Imagine that the authorities call it quackery, and if you promote those lies or try and tell people the millennial reign has already happened, you will get placed in a sane asylum. So I'm sure that they found ways to eliminate, my great-great-grandfather told my father about the millennial reign, those stories all died off. So if you wanted to try to educate someone or debate that the millennial reign has happened, first thing that you would want to do is challenge people with the so-called Jews. Tel Aviv has been called the gayest city in the world by the Boston Globe. You can look it up yourself. In fact, I just found out yesterday that there was over 250,000 attendees at the Tel Aviv Gay Parade. I don't know what year this was, 2016, 17. But you can see there would be a lot of people hostile to the gospel. They don't want to hear that over there. I already heard years ago that if you go to Israel and try and preach the word or the gospel, you can actually get arrested or get fined. So this would be the first debate that you would want with someone to challenge the millennial reign. These are not real Jews. Real Jews are black people. Go look in the scriptures. The description of Yeshua the Christ, he had hair like wool. Black people have hair like wool. The real Jews or Hebrews are black people. Now, something that I thought about the other day, remember the writer of the book of Revelation, John, the writer of Revelation, where he sends a letter to the church of Philadelphia. Now, how many of you know that was most likely the church of Philadelphia? Because of the land that you're all living in, this is actually Egypt. And it really makes me wonder, the ancient Rome that is depicted in the scriptures, it really makes me wonder where exactly was that located on this world map or continent. So if you've spent a lot of hours in research investigating and you are totally convinced that the millennial reign has happened, this is what you should expect, or what I expect to see happen in the next 10 to 15 years. So I believe that Gog and Magog is most likely the territory of Russia and China, and we've already been programmed World War III is going to happen on U.S. soil. So let's say this New World Order or Club 33, they are going to counterfeit or mimic a lot of things in the scriptures that have already happened, like a fake rapture. Let's say the power is out for 15, 16 days. It comes back on. They have all these clothes on porches and out in the streets and out on the sidewalks, and they're saying, oh, look, these people all disappeared. Look, see, there's the clothes, right? And most people believe their television, and they will believe that the rapture has happened and they've been left behind. There's going to be a lot of preachers that probably get punched in the face, get beat up. Imagine you go to church and you're trying to live for the Lord and you pay tithe faithfully and you were left behind the fake rapture and you're going to blame this lame-o minister guy. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are going to get beat up, which maybe they deserve to get beat up. All right, so this is what I expect to see happen. So they fake a rapture and then a counterfeit or a fake antichrist. They make everything look like the tribulation. The time has come where you have to get a identification mark in your hand, or you're going to be imprisoned. So you would have 1 million or more Christians or saints that would get in their RVs or vehicles and they would head out west. I believe that the Holy Spirit would prompt them to head out west because that's most likely where the real Jerusalem is actually at. I do find this very interesting. And I saw them and they went up on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded God's people. Broad plain. How many of you know out west around Nevada or Utah, there's a lot of flat plain area. Isn't that interesting? So imagine you have over 1 million people that are all around these desert-like flat plains, and they have guns and ammo, and they've got as much food or water as they could possibly hold in their vehicles, and they are just trying to escape the New World Order. They're not going to get a chip in their hand. Imagine the New World Order has a problem. They have over 1 million people out in the desert areas, and they're in like large camps. It's going to be a challenge for them to go in and try and arrest people. Anointings could break out, and they could literally rebuke these soldiers, UN soldiers or these law enforcement scumbags. I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua, and these law enforcement fall to the ground and start having seizures, torment, to the point where they get up and they run away. And it could reach a point where no one can touch these anointed saints. Finally, all the armies, Russia and China, they have conquered all the land except for these saints, and they're determined to go in and wipe them out. And I do believe the King of Heaven could use a big counterfeit scenario to refine some of these, lukewarm saints or Christians. He's going to put them in a very difficult, uncomfortable situation where they're going to have to step out in faith. They may have to fast and pray. A lot of them may unlock powerful anointings. They may even have anointings. They pray over empty pots, and they got delicious food. They pray over empty water jugs, and they have all the water they need. When you look at the overall picture, the big picture, you understand the New World Order, Club 33, they are ultimately disposable life. Like, they don't really matter. 1,000 years from now, no one's going to know who they were, what they accomplished. Someone that has $7 billion in the bank, no one's going to care. They are disposable life. Their names are not in the Lamb's Book of Life. They don't really matter. He may use this big counterfeit deception to refine them. Kind of like gold, you want to get out the impurities. You're going to put them through severe tests and trials. So that actually could be what the King of Heaven will accomplish through this big counterfeit production. He's going to have over 1 million saints, and the end result will be rewarding for the King of Heaven. Anyway, that's my theory. If anyone has any knowledge to add to the video, any good theories, definitely leave a comment under the video.